a rare sight in politics, a coalition of Republicans not rejecting Donald Trump, but actively campaigning for his defeat.
Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they're the future. We can't look back.
I did not come to poison our country, the blood of our country.
An election is a choice, and in this election, there is no choice.
Keep the label of Republican, but vote to defend this democracy.
You have to publicly out yourself. I am a Republican, I'm a conservative, and I'm supporting Kamala Harris. It takes courage.
Oh. All right, let's bring in CNN political commentator, former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Jeff Duncan. He's a member of the Republicans for Harris coalition who took part in tonight's virtual reality. Jeff, good to see you. Here's a question I have, and earlier on my morning show, I asked Ray LaHood, who is a Republican Obama cabinet secretary, Olivia Troy, are these the folks who are taking part in these calls? And obviously they think they're doing the right thing. But are they simply just the never Trumpers who weren't going to support Donald Trump anyway, and at the end of the day, it may not make a huge difference? What's your sense of it? What was the reaction you got from this call earlier tonight?
Yeah, I think the 10% in the middle that are going to determine this election are all types of makes and models. There's some lifelong Republicans like me that are extremely conservative, but just have seen Donald Trump act in ways that should never be rewarded with another job called president. And some folks that are just moderates and everything in between. The vibe on the call was positive. It was a bunch of Republicans, in my opinion, that were trying to figure out ways to share their story, why they're not voting for Donald Trump, but why they are supporting and voting for Kamala Harris, and also looking for ways to give some air cover. One of the suggestions I gave was, I don't want Donald Trump to win. I want to get my party back and be able to build a GOP 2.0. And the only way to do that is to let the Democrats win this election. But also, I think it's important to reinforce the fact to Republicans around the country that just because you vote for Kamala Harris in 2024 doesn't mean you're a Democrat. It just means you're a patriot. You're doing your duty as an American to step up to the plate and reclaim this country's future.
And Jeff, I don't know if you heard earlier on in this program, we were just playing some of that Nikki Haley sound. She was on Fox earlier tonight, sort of, saying why is Trump talking about all of these other things besides the issues? We have this reporting coming into CNN tonight that his advisors are alarmed that he can't stay on message. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a little strange to me that folks would expect anything else from the former president. I mean, this is what he does. This is what we've seen him do. And I wonder if you detected any frustration when you were on this call earlier this evening, or did you think, okay, nope, that's Trump, that's par for the course?
No, what I sensed on the call was a bunch of folks looking around saying, hey, we finally got some momentum to beat this guy. We finally have a candidate that is 59 years old, energetic, doing all the things that she needs to do to win the race. Now, certainly none of us agree with 100% of these policies that Kamala Harris or Tim Walz support, but I think the number one policy that we do all support is democracy. Without democracy, none of this other stuff matters. And so, one of the stories I told was, what story do you want to tell your kids and grandkids about this election? Do you want to tell them that you voted for a womanizer, a convicted felon, a morally bankrupt individual just because he had an R next to his name on the ballot? Or do you want to vote for a decent person that has a steadier hand to get us through the next 4 years? For me, that decision's easy, and I think it's becoming easier and easier because Donald Trump continues to just be an ultimate train wreck. I mean, he's his own worst enemy, and the guy that got beat in 2020 is back on the scene now, doing and saying all the wrong things. You can't explain it.
And is there something about being on one of these calls where you're with like-minded folks, you're talking to fellow Republicans? I mean, I suppose most of the folks on the call have not left the party. They're planning on staying as Republicans. Is there kind of a therapeutic thing going on there?
Yeah, for me, yes. I mean, certainly like-minded individuals, but you know what? The conversations I have, I was just at my son's football game earlier. Folks are talking about, these are hardcore lifelong Republicans that are just sick and tired of making excuses at the water cooler, at church, even at the kitchen table for Donald Trump. And you're starting to see the soil soften. The trajectory of Kamala Harris, although we don't agree, lockstep on policies, the trajectory of stability is outpacing Donald Trump exponentially right now in suburbs just like I live in here in Forsyth County, Georgia.
All right, and those counties are going to be vitally important come November. Jeff Duncan, Great to talk to you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Key allies of Donald Trump now asking him to change his ways. Their advice: stop the insults, stop the conspiracies, and the latest from Nikki Haley: stop the whining.
Quit complaining that she's not giving an interview. You don't need an interview from Kamala Harris. I take her at her word. Quit whining about her.
And there's more advice.
You've got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning her position.
The winning formula for President Trump is very plain to see. It's fewer insults, more insights, and that policy contrast.
Over and over again, historically, staying away from insults and conspiracies is not something that lasts for Donald Trump, but everyone will soon see if he listens to any of this advice when he hits the trail today. CNN's Steve Contorno is here with us. Steve, the hope from the allies that you heard over and over and over again is that Trump stays on message. Do we expect that to happen? This is a record that we've heard before.
It certainly is, Sarah, but the concern is that Donald Trump, at this point in the race, has squandered the opportunity to define Vice President Harris and now is risking alienating people that potentially could be voters for him, people who maybe didn't vote for him in 2020 and are now being reminded of why they decided they were done with Donald Trump. And there's especially concern about all these conspiratorial and far-right messaging that is coming from the former president around Harris's crowd sizes and her race. Kellyanne Conway, who was in that clip you just played earlier, actually recently went to Bedminster to talk to Trump about this very issue, according to sources who spoke with Kristen Holmes and I. And they really want Donald Trump to focus on immigration, on crime, on the economy. But listen to what he decided to talk about last night, talking to Univision, a captive audience with millions of potential Latino and Hispanic voters.
Kamala, Harris. Nobody knows her last name. It's Harris. Everyone thinks of her as Kamala, so it's Kamala Harris.
That's certainly not where they want her to be. Want him to be talking about going into this critical stretch of the race. Again, economy, inflation, the border. That is not talking about her name. Is not one of those things.
There are plenty of things to talk about, but you can hear what his aides are telling him over and over and over again. Steve Contorno, thank you so much. Appreciate it.